So welcome to the West Coast in-home agent process call. That's what I like to call it because it can be for any agent, new, seasoned, whomever. So just to reiterate what the expectations of schedule looks like if you are working on a full-time basis. So if you're working on a full-time basis, you want to be dialing on Monday for Tuesday and Wednesday, dialing on Thursday for Friday and Saturday. Also, just to note, you want to make sure that you're purchasing your leads for Monday on Sunday, and you're purchasing your leads for Thursday on Wednesday to make sure everything is good to go for you going into that dial in. So what do you need to go into the home? I'm going to hit on each one of these things a little bit more in particularly. Mindset, that is the first and foremost thing that if it's wrong or off or you can't reset it, it's gonna hinder you. It's not gonna help you in this case, unfortunately. I'm also gonna go through what you physically need to go in the home. Role and purpose. If there's one thing I hope anybody and everyone can take from this, it's the role and purpose. Like this is going to make or break. This put my close ratio up at least 60% minimally. Financial inventory, asking questions, showing options in the close. So just to also quickly reiterate here, agent resources. So FFL West Coast as well as FFLSolidity.com are both going to have the financial inventory, which you need one for every home, your credibility sheet, quoting tools, underwriting guides, all that fun stuff. FFL-go.com is another one. I would definitely bookmark that on your computer, tablet, iPad, phone, and or all of the above. I still have it bookmarked. It's an easy way to access a lot of things. Download the Next Level Plus app. So if you don't have that app on your phone or tablet, please download it. It will keep you up to date in terms of corporate, also has a lot of great tools. In terms of in-home, so if you're in-home and you go into the Slack channel, there's an in-home help channel. You're able to give essentially our underwriting genie, the baseball stats of your client, like age, health, what they're looking to cover, medications, etc. The whole nine, and post it in that channel and he will reply back with the best way to go. If you are in a home, I recommend you reach out to your upline and or myself or whatever people you have there in line, so to say. But if you're in a situation where you're unable to get somebody on the phone, this new agent hotline here, you want to take this number down, 888-236-7402. And what that does is when you call that number, it rings to 10 different top producers' phones. Whoever answers the phone first will take your call, but it's making sure or assuring that essentially somebody is always going to be there to take your call when you're in home. So mindset, the mindset has to change from I need to make the sale to you're there to help the family, right? So you're there to help that family. That's your sole job. If that was your job and you were getting paid W-2, how would you act differently, right? Is there something different you would do in the home? There's something different you would say? Is there something different that you might be more bold to point out? Think about that and kind of self-audit, right? Remember that you hold the license. So with you holding the license, it would truly be a disservice to not be honest throughout the whole appointment. I make it a point to ask, like, hey, John and Mary, do I have permission to be extremely honest and transparent throughout this conversation? They always say yeah, and they respect it because I'm not telling them what they want to hear. I'm telling them what they need to hear, right? There's always going to be a difference. Your self-talk contributes a lot to your mindset. I was my own worst enemy going through the first 20 years of my life, right? No one can torture you more than yourself, right? So don't torture yourself. Just like you have that decision, don't do it, right? So self-talk, it's just a conversation you're going to have with this family, whether it's telesales, whether it's in-home, on Zoom, it's a conversation. What always uses my mind to this day, I think about what would I do if I was walking into, Gianna's mom's house, right? Like my friend's mom's house. What would I do if I was walking into, my friend's house? What would I do if I was walking into my cousin's house, like my grandparents' house? Fill in the blank, right, with that age group and just act as if, right? If it's nonchalant and you're very chill and relaxed, they're going to feel that. If you're all like, oh, you're freaking out, they're going to feel that too. So just control your thoughts, right? All we're doing is finding the problem that they have, so to say, which is lack of insurance in some way, shape, or form, and then the solution to the family's particular situation. every family is going to have a different problem that needs to be solved, whether it's final expenses, whether it's mortgage protection. These are concepts, right? We're taking the concept, finding the problem. Problem could be income differentiation, right? There's a lot of different things that the problem could be, but all we're doing is we're looking for the product to find that best solution. So make sure your mindset is there, like has to be there, focus on that family. Sometimes what I'll do, literally, I'll like act your way into feeling, right? I'll be like, if somebody told me I was going to get fired, if I didn't go in here and I wasn't honest with the family, what would I do? Right? I'd go in there, I'd be honest, and I'd be bold, right? So, hold yourself to that place. If you're not muted, if you could go ahead and mute out, that would be great. And if you're not listening and you're not muted, if you could go ahead and hop off, that would also be great. Thank you, guys. So what do you physically need to go into the home? You need the lead card. I don't care if that is the, internet lead card. I don't care if that's the without image. I don't care what it is. Bring in whatever lead you have because it's going to show credibility. You want to make sure you have your state insurance license. Personally, I laminate mine and I just put it in the back of my clipboard. So when I'm walking into the home, they can just see it like when I'm holding it. I'm just holding it, they can see it. When I sit down, I put the laminated license on the table, as well as the lead, my clipboard, you know what I mean? So it's just very nonchalant. I don't think it's necessary to flash that in somebody's face unless you're doing a telesale or Zoom. Of course, you want to make sure you're getting those credentials right out there. So again, you need a financial inventory in every home. That's very important. A credibility sheet in every home. A computer, tablet, or iPad, whatever it is of your choice to get onto the e-apps. I would always suggest you have paper applications with you. We don't know what technology is going to do. And only just a short, 3 or so years ago, paper applications were actually a thing in the insurance world. We all have the blessing of not having to do too many, but we always want to have those on deck, so to say. So if you don't have Mutual of Omaha and CFG's paper applications, please reach out to your upline and or obtain those applications, because if you're in a predicament where you're able to help a family, you want to make sure you're actually helping them out. You're not just, kind of walking away because you can't log into Americo.com, right? So we want to make sure we have a backup plan. The last thing, which I'll hit on a little bit more, is the leave behind sheet. The leave behind sheet is essentially an outline of what you guys did that day. It's going to have all your personal information, like your name, your email, telephone number. And again, this is a template. So if you don't have the template, check it out, fflsolidity.com. You will find it on there. It's going to have your information, name, phone number, email address, and then it's going to have the client's information, name, phone, email address, the carrier, the product you wrote, in an outline. If you covered John for $10,000 with Americo Eagle Premier, you're writing that down, whole life, how much it costs, you're signing it, you're having the client sign it, and you're actually leaving that with the client. All I'm doing is I'm taking a photo of it for my records. So now if John calls me, I know exactly who John is. I know exactly what John has. And also I know that John has something tangible that he can say, this is what I did today, right? Versus like, oh, I already got that taken care of. Oh, well, what company did you go through? I'm not sure. Like, that's the easiest way to book an appointment, right? Like, you're not sure, that agent loses a lot of credibility. Don't be the person who can't fill in the leave behind form. Fill it in, it matters. Again, role and purpose, if you guys can take anything from this, it would be role and purpose. If you're on this call, you've probably heard my role and purpose before. If you haven't, I might spare you, but essentially what it's going to do is it's going to set the structure in the home. It's the only constant in every single home that you can go in and pretty much say the same exact thing, no matter who you're sitting in front of, what lead type it is, you're just changing the verbiage a little bit. And what the role and purpose is going to do is it's going to make sure that we're not kidnapping our clients, right? Like, if you put me on a bus and you don't tell me where you're going, like, I'm going to report you as a kidnapper, right? Like, you just kidnapped me. I have no idea where we're going. Your client's going to feel the same way. And through your role and purpose, really what you're doing is you're increasing your credibility because you have so much confidence, and you're decreasing your sales pressure. So if you're in a home and you're unable to get your role and purpose out, it's like, just say it. Like, just say it. And once you start to be able to take the oh my gosh, I don't believe them. It's like, all you're telling them is what you're going to do that day. You're setting the right expectation. So what you're there to accomplish and being proactive versus reactive. Like I said, this is the only consistent thing you can say in every single home. So make it your own and memorize it. The top 3 objections we're going to get are, I need to think about it. I can't afford it. And I want to shop around. In the role and purpose, we are alleviating all 3 of those. We're telling them we're going to find something that suits their need and suits their budget, right? We're telling them we're going to take that application today. Like, we're telling them exactly what we're going to do. And just to give an example of what my role and purpose sounds like, and I'm just going to say I'm in a mortgage appointment with John. All right, so John, I just want to, before we jump into things, I just want to tell you who I am, my role, my purpose, and really what I'm here to help you accomplish today. So I'm what they call a field underwriter or broker. And John, really what that means is I work together with about 80 or so different companies that do these mortgage protection plans, meaning I'm not individual or partial to any one company. I'm much more individual to you and your family to make sure we're getting you the lowest rate based off what you're looking to cover, if coverage is necessary at all, okay? So we're going to talk to you a little bit about, the mortgage itself to make sure I do understand how it's set up, a little bit about your finances and plans that you may already have in place, because you may not need this at all. And if that's the case, John, I'll be the first person to tell you, okay? And then just a little bit about your health, not to be invasive, just to make sure whatever application we're taking today, we're able to get you approved for that coverage and we don't get you declined, okay? And really your job today, John, is to help me help you, meaning we all have a budget, right? I know that I do, I'm sure that you do, and the guy down the street probably does. So we want to make sure whatever we're looking at is going to suit both the need, the budget. We'll do our best to make those work together. Again, we'll take that application today, get it sent up to senior underwriting, and John, we should have you covered and protected in 1 to 3 business days. Sound good? And they always say, yeah. If somebody tells like, no, I was just looking for quotes, and I'll be like, okay, no worries. And I'll close my laptop. I'm not the quote person, I'm the underwriter. So again, if you want to go through options, I can do that. But if you want quotes, you can actually just get quotes right online. And I'm very nonchalant. I'm not like going to make this whole mess, but it's like, if you can't say that sounds good to go through what I plan to go through with there's no reason for me to move on. Like, I just told you what we're going to do. You're not on board. That's going to be 1 out of every 100 people that you say that to. Or if it's higher than that, it might be something that you're saying or how you're saying it. So you want to make this like as known as like your date of birth. Like you want to be like, boom, 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 boom. I always say if somebody woke me up at 3:30 in the morning with a gun to my head and said, what's your role and purpose? It would be the same exact thing every time. Like everybody in the house would be good because I would know it. And that's how bad you have to know that. You have to think about like, if I can acquire one skill, it's memorizing, like about 30 seconds. So I encourage you guys, type this out. If there's the number one thing that every agent, whether it's within, like within Family First Life, like in any other practice company I was ever in, there was never really an in-home problem as much as there was a lack of communication problem. And a lack of communication can lead to a lot worse things down the road, right? So we want to make sure that we're not having a lack of communication with our clients. We're doing exactly what we said we're going to do, right? So your role and purpose, again, if you do not have one, even if you've been there for a year, you don't have one. No one's mad. Write it out. Write it out. All right. So the importance of asking good questions. If you're not muted, can you please go ahead and speak out loud? Awesome. Thanks, guys. Okay, so the importance of asking good questions. So there's 2 ways to look at things, right? One way to look at things would be, okay, if I ask these questions, I'm rude and disrespectful. Another way to look at it would be, if I don't ask these questions, then what if something happens tomorrow and I could have asked better questions and, John or Mary or whoever would be in a better situation. Trust me, you don't want to be wearing that second shoe. You don't want to be wearing the what if shoe when your client passes away, because again, we didn't communicate. We have to actually paint a picture. So for me, I'm not comfortable pitching somebody life insurance, like showing them the actual, like, this is what we're going to do until they sell me on why they need it. Like, there's no reason. it's like, we can assume the sale, yeah, but it's like, we don't ask good questions, we shouldn't expect a good result. So what I do is I'll go through the whole financial inventory, you know, and I'm gonna, you know, make certain points there. But after I go through the financial inventory, before I'm going to pitch, I'm gonna start asking these questions. So, you know, John, if you had died last night, you know, Mary, what would that look like for you? Because I always want to know who's impacted. If I'm sitting with John and Mary, and John's income is 10,000 and Mary's is 2. Okay, so I already pointed out the income differentiation, right? Okay, you know, John, Mary completely understand why I'm here. You know, you're bringing in 10,000, you're bringing in 2,000. Something were to happen to John, Mary, it's really not looking good for you. Is that right? They're like, yeah, like they're with you because they see that you care, right? So now you're able to ask these questions, right? So who's impacted if he died last night, John? Okay, so Mary is. Okay, so what does that look like for you, Mary? Like, what does it look like? Like, and they're like usually looking at me like, oh, and like, and I'll say, Mary, I don't expect you to know exactly what it's going to look like because I'm sure this is not something that you and John talk about on a daily basis, right? And if John starts to chime in, I will openly say, John, no disrespect, but you died. We have to know, what is Mary going to do if something happened last night? Like, what does it look like? Because as of right now, it doesn't seem like we have like the full plan. So let's make sure we have the full plan, okay? Because we don't even know if you need this. So Mary's like, oh, okay, like this is what it would look like. You know, I would only have $2,000 of income because John took the max on his pension, and you know, I would take the less of the the higher of the 2 Social Security, so it would come out to like $2,200 a month. So I don't know. I don't know. Wouldn't it be good? Like that's usually what I get, something like that, like a panicked answer. I'm not there to panic the client, but I am there to paint a realistic picture. Because if you think for a second that like, you know, oh, I can just miss a couple, it's not a big deal. No, it is a big deal because whatever you show that person in terms of like who you are is going to shine through on how they see the insurance industry. So you truly can be their last resort at getting life insurance. And that's a really, really big deal. Like you have to think about that. It's literally not about you. I don't care if the questions are uncomfortable. They were really uncomfortable for me when I was asking them at 20 years old. So I'm very confident everybody on you can ask them, right? So what does that look like? Where would you go, Mary, if something had happened last night? I'd go to my sister's house. Okay, what does that look like for you, Mary? You know, is there an extra room there? Does she live locally? Is it another state? Would you have to uproot your life? Like, what does that look like, right? And like, I let them talk. Some people are gonna spill more than others. Other people are gonna give you answers that you have to just branch questions on. Every family's a little bit different. And now it's like going back to, okay, so who, what, where, you know, like, well, sometimes I'll ask you, when would you have to leave the home, or when, you know, would you have to come up with the money for the final expenses, right? How would you pay the bills without John's income, right? That's how. And then it's, now I know why I'm here, right? Like finally, now I asked all these questions. They sold me on why they need the insurance. Now I know why I'm here, right? And it sounds stupid, but it's powerful. So if you don't ask questions, don't expect a yes. There was no value, right? When value exceeds price, people buy. So we want to make sure we're going in there and we're building value, not with our ammo, but with our questions. Our questions do matter. They matter more than anything, actually, when we're going through, you know, our in-home process. So ask questions. They're not going to be comfortable. Well, what I can tell you is, like your role and purpose, do it 100 times in a home, it's going to be comfortable. Ask questions 100 times in a home, it's going to be your in-home. That's it, right? And then when I ask all those questions, I want to be clear on this. Now I'm going to pull up options, right? But before I do that, you know, if you're brand new coming into this, again, call your upline from the home for product knowledge if needed. This is so common, your first 50 to 100 appointments. Please, 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 for your own well-being, do not be the agent who studies all 30, you know, underwriting guides. You don't need to know that. You need to know what whole life is, and you need to know what term life is. And you need to know how to call your upline from the home. We'll help you, we'll lead, guide, and direct you. This is the problem that you're giving us. This is the solution. This is the way you should go. So I always show 3 options. However you show them, if it's working, keep doing it that way for sure. But what I'll do is I'll write up 3 different options and I'll explain all 3 options. I do want to hit on this a little bit more clear. Sometimes, you know, a new agent might think when I'm saying 3 options, I mean, like I would show America, Mutual of Omaha, and Prosperity. I'm not doing that. I do the shopping for them. I'm showing them, for example, America Eagle Premier, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. The same product line, just a different coverage amount. And I'm going to write out all 3 options and I'm going to walk them through each option. I don't care if they're like, how much does it cost? Hey, John, you're jumping the gun. We're going to get there. Bear with me. I have to get through this part first. I'm explaining each option and making sure that it does indeed make sense until I'm moving on to the next option. So they're telling me everything. Yes, that makes sense. That makes sense. And I'm making sure that I already have the options pulled up on my iPad, so to say, but I'm not putting the price yet next to that, right? So right now, I'm just making sure that they're with me. Because if I have the option and the price next to it, they don't care what the option says. They care what the price says. Now they're buying based off of the price, right? They're not thinking when value exceeds, you know, like they're not there. They're just looking at one side of the paper. So write out all 3 different options, explain them, make sure that they make sense. And you know, you want to just somehow frame your closing question. Your closing question, whoops, it doesn't need to be fancy. It doesn't need to be this. It can be, you know, so what feels best budget-wise? But what it sounds like for me is, okay, so now I wrote out all 3 different options. I explained them. Angela was like, that makes complete sense. I understand. All right, so Angela, if we were looking at option A here on you, we'd be looking at $75 a month. Option B, we'd be looking at $125, and option C, we'd be looking at $200. You know, now Angela, being that everything makes sense, which it looks like it does, and you saw the need for it, which one feels best to cover John, both budget to need wise? And you have to stop talking. That was my biggest problem, was I kept going. Like, it was like, how do I, like, well, I think you guys should go with, like, it's like, let them make the decision. You already talked enough. Now it's time for you to sit there for what may sometimes feel like it's 3 hours, but in reality, it's 30, 45 seconds. And if you just show them, they'll say, okay, that one, right? Usually they pick the middle one. I don't know why, but that's my experience. That's not like a fact. But my point is you have to stop. Because if you keep going, like, and then don't forget about this, and now you're the sales guy. Like now, like even like I would buy insurance from somebody if they showed up at my doorstep today. You know, that's who I am. But it's like not if they're talking after the closing question. Like that's my decision as the consumer to make. It's not anybody else's, right? So, but putting the beneficiary's name in there is crucial. Because if it's their kid, their spouse, it's somebody who's very important to them. Like, you saw the need for it. Which one feels best to cover Christina, both budget to need wise? Like, I would be like the top one, like get her the most coverage, right? Like, my whole point is you have to stop talking. Okay, so write out the options. Don't put what it's going to monthly cost next to it until they understand all 3. Put how much they cost. And now we're reverting back. Now we're going closing question and we're zipping our lips, right? So I hope that makes sense. So now you're in the home, you're wrapping up, you did your thing. If your applicant's approved, let them know. Congratulations, John, you're approved, you know? Awesome. And you're going to put their policy number on that leave behind sheet. If they're not approved in home, like you got sent to underwriting or something of that sort, you want to let them know you're going to give them a call once you have an answer back. And, you know, if the insurance company needs additional information, you'll be sure to reach out. I typically will make sure my clients do know that that's not going to be this lengthy process. It's going to be 1 to 3 business days. You want to be really adamant on that. And you also want to make sure you're following up with the company. Like, why did you go in there and do all that hard work to not get the policy pushed through? Call the company, right? Communicate with your client. So you're now going to fill out the leave behind form, whether it's approved or it's not. And that leave behind form, again, it's for you to take a photo of, but it's for you to leave with the client. And now you're actually gonna, you know, make sure you put that with your records. What I personally do is I staple my business card to the leave behind after I take a photo of it. That way they do have my business card as well, but they also have that leave behind for reference. If you don't have a business card, seriously, it's not the end of the world. Don't sweat it. The leave behind has all of your information and more on it. So you want to tell them what to expect from here. You know, you want to prep your client. You want to essentially tell them, okay, you know, now John, Mary, this is what I'll do at the end of every appointment. So it's closed and I did the leave behind form. Now, John and Mary, do you guys feel like I did the best job helping your family today? And they'll always say, yeah, like they like you. They just bought from you, you know, like they actually like you. If they didn't like you, they wouldn't have bought. They're going to always say, yeah. If they don't, I mean, you got to reassess where you're at. But I've never had somebody say no. And they're going to say, yeah, we do. Okay, so John and Mary, you know, I'm going to do everything in my control to make sure that you're not getting calls. But if for any reason anybody reaches out to you in regards to, boom, you know, the mortgage protection, the life insurance coverage, the final expense, whatever the lead type is, you want to go ahead and let them know that Marysa was able to take care of you. And if they have any questions, to go ahead and reach out to me. And what I'll do is I'll get up and I'll put my business card on their fridge. Usually they're like, where are you going? And I'm like, the fridge, like, and I show, like, you know, because that way when they pick the phone up, it's going to be right in front of them, right? So you need to prep your client that you're their agent for life, right? So if anyone calls them about insurance, just have them give you a call. If they call you and they're saying that they're my manager, they're my this, they're my that, that's weird, John and Mary, that doesn't happen. My manager wouldn't call you unless, you know, for some reason I left the company, but I don't foresee that happening. So if for any reason anyone reaches out to you, you know, you just want to let them know you're taken care of, and please feel free to share my information. What I'm doing in that last part is crucial. It's a post-close. It's making sure that the business we're putting on the books, the families we're actually helping, are going to stay on the books, right? And that's really important because we can go to 8,000 people's houses, but if we don't do a proper post-close, it's like a literal additional 2 minutes, maybe. This might even be a little bit of a stretch. An additional 2 minutes to keep your persistency in your placement with helping families a lot higher. And that's how we avoid chargebacks. Like, I don't get a lot of chargebacks anymore. I did at one point. That's why I had to learn how to get really good at not getting them as often. Are they going to happen? Yes. Yes, they are. That's why you have to just do your job, and it's not the end of the world. But my point is you have to prep your clients in terms of you're their guy, you're their girl, anything insurance, life insurance related, you're the person to call. Anyone reaches out, they're not your manager, that's weird, tell them to call you. That way it's also diverting the client who might be saying, you know, my phone's been ringing off the hook about this, something like, I don't know, people say weird things, right? But my point is it's going to be able to divert that conversation to make it so that your client feels comfortable working with you, and also that your client knows that you're not there just for that day, like you're there for life. I do also, in addition, let them know. So John and Mary, we do typically do an annual review because folks tend to forget what they got, you know, so disappointingly enough for you guys, you'll have to see me again in a year. And they always laugh, they're like, oh, you can come over whenever, right? Now you're building a true relationship. For those of you guys that are, you know, within my group, you probably see I typically will take a selfie with my client in home. And I do that for a couple of reasons. I do it because I like to do it and it fills my heart. And I like to look back at my photos and like, oh, look at all the people I've helped. But at the same time, more importantly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send that photo to the client's cell phone. I'm now going to go ahead and program myself into their phone as insurance Marysa, life insurance Marysa, with the picture. So now every single time that I call this person or they call me, that picture of them is popping up, the picture of us, right, is popping up. And it's reinstilling a positive relationship, a positive vibe, right? Like if I was in somebody's home and they're like, oh, let me just give my agent a call, and like I see a photo pop up on their phone, I'd be like, never mind. Like, you know what I mean? Like, essentially my point being is you're solidifying your clients. You need to take that extra 2 minutes. If not, you might have chargebacks, just to be really honest with you, like, because they don't even know what to do now. You have to give them next steps. Even talking about the year from now, it all matters. You don't have to be perfect in there, but you got to make sure that they know that you're batting for them. And then on the worst day of their beneficiary's life, you're going to be there to help them file that claims paperwork. You're not just going to leave it up to, they don't have to just call the insurance company. It's no, call you and you'll deal with the insurance company so that they can properly grieve. So